Really what's happening now in 25 is, I think, just the next evolution and extension with Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6E is high speeds, low latency. Those are kind of obvious things now. Security is a major piece. And then, of course, AI.
Hey, this is Martha DeGrasse here again for Wi-Fi Alliance. And this is The Signal, our podcast, where we give you the inside track on Wi-Fi. Today, we're back at CES 2025 with our CEO Insights series. And we're going to learn about Boingo's recent developments of Wi-Fi 7 and how Wi-Fi is enabling new levels of connectivity for airports, military bases, and IoT applications. Here to introduce our guest is CEO Insights host Kevin Robinson, President and CEO of the Wi-Fi Alliance. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Martha. It's a pleasure to be joined by Mike Finley from Boingo. Welcome back to The Signal, Mike.
It's great to be here. Happy New Year. Thank you for having Boingo and me. And lots going on and lots coming, so I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get into the new year in 2025, I can't believe we've gone through 2024 that was celebrating 25 years of Wi-Fi. It's been an incredible milestone, I think, for the industry. And as I understand it, 2024 has also been a pretty important year for Boingo as well. I'd love to hear maybe about some of the deployments and what Boingo had going on in 2024. In particular, maybe how those deployments and the learnings coming out of those might shape how you're looking forward for your company.
Yeah, so thanks. 24 was a great year. It's interesting over the 25 years now, all the changes and evolution that have gone on. When you come back to 24, though, we launched Wi-Fi 7 in the first public venue here last year. And so Wi-Fi 7 is now getting deployed more and more, so that's a very interesting opportunity as we go forward. We also deployed 5G and Wi-Fi 6 together at the John Wayne Airport. And then the other one I'll highlight for 24 was the Rhode Island Convention Center, where we deployed Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, and private networks there, as well as the Amica Pavilion. When you kind of come to all of those, including we launched Grand Central Madison, the big transit hub in New York, right at the end of 23. There's a common theme. People want high speed, they want low latency, they want security, they want their devices to be able to work and interact how they want them. And so that's what we do. We build converged networks and we create connectivity to allow users and venues to implement the things they want to implement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've always been fascinated and kind of impressed by what Boingo has been able to do over your history with, you're really being, I think, one of the early proponents and champions of these converged networks. Like to your point, it's about connectivity. People care less about the specific technology. They care about, are you able to deliver on those applications, those use cases? And Boingo's certainly been, I think, a leader in that. So as we approach 2025, what major trends do you see coming about? And how is Boingo really positioning itself to continue leading maybe as you face some of those trends?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. I've said all along that when you get off a plane or a train or you enter a stadium, you really just want your device to work. Mm-hmm. You're not really looking at what network you're on necessarily. You only look at it when it doesn't work. So obviously, starting from basically Wi-Fi and laptops in airports 25 years ago when laptops didn't have Wi-Fi in them to where we're at today, really what's happening now in 25 is, I think, just the next evolution and extension with Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6E is high speeds, low latency. Those are kind of obvious things now. Security is a major piece. We're on a lot of military bases and things like that, but everybody wants security. And then, of course, AI and being able to implement the AI capabilities into, on one side for us, just the building of our networks, the maintenance of our networks, identifying where opportunities for a failure may be before it happens, and a lot of things like that. So I think this will be more the year of Wi-Fi 7. We're implementing that more and more, getting to the higher speeds, downloading. Kind of sounds like historic now to say I want to download a movie or streaming, but those are things that we're enabling now more. You look at sports and entertainment, little things like autonomous cleaning, being able to clean their facilities in a much more efficient fashion. Mm-hmm. I travel a lot. I'm in a lot of different airports. And it used to be you just see these robots cleaning if you're on the late flight. Now it's a pretty common occurrence. And so we believe we're creators of connectivity, and the more high speed, the more low latency, the more security that you provide, then these great application developers and device manufacturers are going to find ways to use it.
So, Mike, you mentioned the way you're serving the U.S. military, and this almost seems like an interesting niche that Boingo has acquired. And maybe you could tell me a little bit more about specifically what you're doing with the military, because I believe it spans its barracks. It's a lot of different areas you're getting into. So really you're kind of a key player in modernizing connectivity in the U.S. military. So maybe you'd share how Wi-Fi advancements are enhancing military installations and how the warfighter in the U.S. goes about doing its business.
Yeah, it's great. The military has been great to work with. Obviously, we're bringing connectivity to the troops in their barracks. That was the original piece of the business. And of course, as evolutions occur with Wi-Fi 5 to 6 to 6E to 7, we're continuing to evolve and build out. So that's bringing greater capabilities in the barracks. Our troops want connectivity. This is where they live. They want the same capabilities that we can get in homes and hotels and apartments and that across the world. So we're bringing great speed and connectivity and security to the barracks. We've also now launched the fiber to the home, which is an instant on gigabit service to now the families on military bases, and we've seen great success with that, in that obviously families on military bases have the same needs that everybody does. And so we've been very excited. We have so many veterans that work with us and for us that really want to provide this great service to the places where they've been. We're doing that. We're building towers on military bases as well. These bases are massive. They're cities, and we're bringing a lot of private services. So the military wants to provide a great quality of life to the troops, which connectivity is a real key part of that. But they also want mission readiness. And so we're working with the DoD and a number of other places within the federal government and the military to bring all of this capability really from start to finish.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it really has made customers you're serving are incredibly diverse now. And if you look at the deployment scenarios for Boingo, which I know for many of us, especially in the early days, it was, you were all about airport connectivity. And you're literally spanning now from what's essentially almost like residential Wi-Fi and residential broadband all the way through to critical operations on the other side. So it's pretty impressive to see how you've been able to grow in that space.
Yeah, thank you. I'll tell you, take airports, our original kind of business. Originally, we were focused on Wi-Fi in the corridors. By definition, we weren't supposed to be in the jetways and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's all changed now, because now people want, and the venues want connectivity, not just in the airport. You want it on the jetway, you want it sitting on the plane, you want it on the tarmac, and that also brings a lot of other capabilities into play. You think of baggage handling, and again, I said I travel a lot, so it's nice to know when you're on the plane, when you get the text that says your bag's on the plane. It's connectivity and technology that's enabling that to happen. There's a lot of safety and security that obviously needs to go on in the airports and TSA and in the security aspects, but also in the bowels of these massive venues, transit hubs, subways, things like that. So we are doing that, and that's kind of really expanded out. We've just entered into what we call more the enterprise business, which is more MDUs, a small commercial real estate, smaller convention centers, healthcare, where we're also bringing connectivity in a very efficient way, where venues find it much more capable to pay for that, to provide that great service, which they need in all of those venues. So we now really are, if you think about it, airports, transportation hubs, sports and entertainment, military bases, MDUs, hospitals, healthcare facilities, small commercial. So, like I said earlier, we're creators of connectivity. People want connectivity everywhere. And these devices have capabilities to do whatever. From my time at Qualcomm, we were building devices that could do all of these technologies. So you would expect your network to do the same, and that's what we bring forward. So
you touched on this a little bit already, Mike, but security, right? So it's hardly a week goes by that we're not hearing about some new cyber attack or cybersecurity concern. So I'm sure this is the case, but network security has to be paramount in these deployments that you're doing, particularly as you're getting onto military bases or in critical operations, let's say in an airport. How is Boingo approaching this, and how are you leveraging some of these emerging technologies to ensure that you're delivering robust, secure connectivity? Because you talked about you're all about connectivity. Well, now security is a critical element of that. And it always has been. Yep. It's obviously a lot more in the forefront, I guess maybe over the last
10 years or so, 5 in particular. Look, there's hacks and threats that come constantly, so you have to be prepared for that. So we have a zero trust architecture. We have a whole set of engineers that are focused every day, not only on our networks being secure, but how do we get there? That's the first thing we start with when we design a network and build the network. It's all based on how are we going to secure it. So obviously we have 24 by 7 by 365 a network operations center that's monitoring the networks. We have a lot of creativity that goes into the network and the design. We start every build with security aspects to it. So the big thing is just being engaged, being involved, staying ahead of the bad guys. We get a lot of support, obviously, in the business and around the capabilities that exist. But everywhere we build and everywhere we design, we start with that. And the network has to have that, or obviously we wouldn't be on military bases or in a lot of the great venues that we're in.
Yeah, and obviously, for those who maybe don't know this, but Boingo has been a huge champion around technologies like Passpoint, which allow even just regular customers in a venue, they're getting that secure connection, which is not always the case in some of the public network environments. But yeah, I just want to make sure I highlighted that because it is something that Boingo has really been kind of a champion and a leader in ensuring that all those connections are secure.
Yeah, we're very proud of Passpoint. And again, that's something now, I guess that's 10 plus, maybe 15 years it's been out there. But again, it's like I mentioned earlier, when you get off a plane or a train or you walk into a stadium, you just care that you have connectivity, but you also care that you have security. It's best when you don't know that that's there. But you're right, Passpoint really has enabled a very clean, efficient way. The way, this is probably not the greatest, the engineers will kill me for this, but essentially when you go somewhere and you get on the network and you're on instantly, Passpoint is behind the scenes enabling that. It knows who you are. It knows that it's secure. It's putting you there. It's when you go out sometimes into other public networks where that's not enabled. These networks aren't encrypted and don't have that security. You have to be really cautious. But if you're in a Boingo network, then you're safe.
Yeah, that's great. So another trend, obviously, we've seen for now a number of years is I'll just characterize it as IoT, but essentially we're seeing now where it's not just about laptops, smartphones, productivity devices, but also all manner of IoT devices, whether those be sensors, single-use type devices maybe that somebody's using in operations. How is Boingo leaning forward on that and dealing with the increasing demand for seamless, high-performance connectivity for what you might call more non-traditional, non-productivity devices?
It's interesting. I've been around IoT a lot, and just by the name of it, Internet of Things, what is it over time? But you're right, it's coming to fruition in so many other ways now. So I go back to kind of the basic premise of Boingo, which is we're creators of connectivity. And we believe strongly in converged networks. We've started as a provider of Wi-Fi. We've continued to be in Wi-Fi. It is a large, obviously, part of what we do. And so now when all these massive types of applications come into play, it kind of starts with what network will I put that on? Again, the end user doesn't need to necessarily know that. But when you have a network that you've built with all the technologies that are enabled, sometimes licensed cellular is the best place for it. Sometimes Wi-Fi is the best, and obviously as Wi-Fi is growing and that's more and more is coming, that's better, it's more secure. Things like that, private networks, CBRS, whatever they might be, we're building that and designing that into our networks. As an example, we have a venue that has 14,000 IoT devices, and it works seamlessly and flawlessly. And a lot of that is you're designing the network, you're building it out, you're working with the venue and how they want to utilize, in this particular case, these devices that they want to utilize. And, we identify which network would be best for that. And it's Wi-Fi a lot of the times for lots of reasons. So we build for that, we plan for that. And the other piece with our networks is they continuously evolve. So whenever there's new capabilities that come out, we can expand the network, we can add to that network and bring those in. So it's exciting. I mean, there's a long history, as you highlighted, but there's so much more to come, and we're actually really very excited about it.
Well, great. I certainly appreciate you sitting down with us, Mike, and sharing some of your insights on where you think the industry is going. I wish you and the whole Boingo team an incredible 2025 and beyond.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin and Mike. That was a great podcast. And that is our show. You can get the signal straight to your device through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or of course at the Wi-Fi Alliance. That's y-fi.org. I'm Martha DeGrasse here for the Wi-Fi Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us for CEO Insights. Please join us again on The Signal.